Welcome to the League of Women Voters Candidate Forum for the Democratic candidates running for the District 5 seat on the DuPage County Board. This event is being recorded. I am Julie Niles, President of the League of Women Voters of Naperville. The League is a nonpartisan organization. We do not support or oppose candidates for public office. You can rely on the League to present fair and civil candidate events where each candidate is allowed an equal chance to respond. Our trained moderator this evening neither resides nor votes in District 5. Primary Election Day 2026 is March 17th, and early voting has already begun. Now is the time to make your plan for how you will cast your ballot. We hope that part of your plan is to educate yourself on the candidates and issues in order to confidently vote the whole ballot. In addition to watching candidate events, live or recorded, you may also find candidate information on vote411.org, our nonpartisan online voter guide. All candidates have been invited to respond to questions, and their answers appear complete and unedited. The video of this candidate forum will be linked to Vote 411. And now, let me introduce our moderator for tonight, Barb Lamons.
Thank you, Julie. And welcome to everyone to the Candidate Forum for the Democratic candidates for the four-year term for DuPage County Board District 5, sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Naperville. My name is Barb Lamons, a member of the League of Women Voters of Wheaton, and your moderator for this evening. I live in West Chicago, so I will not be voting for any of the candidates participating in the forum this evening. The League of Women Voters, as Julie said, is a nonpartisan organization that neither supports nor opposes candidates or parties for any office. The League is not affiliated with any political party. The League's purpose is to promote civic responsibility through the informed and active participation of citizens in government and civil civic discourse. Providing opportunities to meet candidates is a major mission of the League of Women Voters, so voters can become better informed about the issues facing their community and to become better acquainted with the candidates running for office. I would like to now invite the candidates to turn on their videos. Welcome. Participating in tonight's forum are the Democratic candidates for the four-year term for DuPage County Board District 5, candidate Sadia Covert, candidate Holzhauer, candidate Marylee Leu. The format for tonight is a forum and not a debate. Candidates are expected to accurately represent the facts, and their responses reflect their own views and opinions. The League of Women Voters is not responsible for the accuracy of statements made by the candidates. It is the responsibility of the public, news media, opposing candidates to fact-check statements made by candidates if necessary. The candidates have agreed to abide by the rules set forth for this forum. All candidates attending tonight have signed and returned the ground rules by the deadline established in the invitation. These rules specify the format, time limits, broadcasting of the forum, and other rules related to the content of the forum, such as restricting their answers to the questions posed by the moderator. The candidates will begin in alphabetical order with their 2-minute opening statements. They will then alternate in the order in which they answer questions for 2 minutes. After the question portion of the forum, each candidate will give a 2-minute closing statement, continuing our alternating pattern. A member of the League will be acting as timer, and I will enforce the time limits. Candidates, you will see a slide to let you know that you have 1 minute, 30 seconds, 15 seconds, and then stop. Should a candidate exceed the time limit, I will ask them to finish their sentence and move on to the next candidate. To ensure that the questions for tonight's forum represents a balance of topics, a panel of experienced members of the League of Women Voters has reviewed the questions submitted for appropriateness and to avoid duplication. Finally, I want to say how appreciative we are of the candidates who are not only willing to serve in office, but who have agreed to be here tonight to share their goals and ideas. So let us get started. Candidate Covert, you have 2 minutes for your opening statement.
Thank you so much. And I want to thank the League of Women Voters for having me here. My name is Sadia Covert. I am an incumbent of the last 7 years on DuPage County Board. I was elected in 2018 and reelected in 2022. In my first year in office, I had passed 3 initiatives, the diversity and inclusion imperative to be a part of our strategic goals. I chaired the complete count committee for the 2020 census. And I also help pass closed captioning for the hearing impaired. I have done a lot of work since then. Recently, I was just awarded the National Award from National Association of Counties for my strategic planning committee that I chaired. That was back in around November 2024, I believe. And been doing a lot of great work. And my focus, we need to continue the work, especially during these uncertain times. And I am working on food insecurity, housing, and mental health. So I look forward to continuing to serving. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Holzhauer, your opening statement.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ian Holzhauer. I'm running for county board. First of all, I want to thank Member Covert for her service and thank President Leu for her service and also her service to our country in the Navy. I think leadership is about giving people something to believe in that's bigger than themselves. And right now, more than ever, people need to believe in their local government. And why is it that I think local government is so important? It's because, unfortunately, when people look at the example that is being set by national leaders, they're losing a lot of faith in government. And that's unfortunate because there's so many people on a grassroots level who are working so hard for our democracy, people like the folks at the League of Women and Women Voters. And just to give some examples, on my time on the Naperville City Council, some of the things I'm really, really proud of. First, we passed a ban on the retail sale of assault weapons in Naperville, a ban that has survived 2 challenges all the way to the United States Supreme Court. Second, we've promoted housing for adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Third, we recently ended discussions on a renewal of Naperville's relationship with the 8th largest greenhouse gas generating plant in the country. And we are we approved 6 full-time mental health officers to serve in Naperville this year. I'm excited to marry some of these ideas with some of the great work that's been done in the county with the Crisis Recovery Center, for example, bringing those mental health programs to the justice system there. I'm a former prosecutor and defense counsel, and I know the importance of mental health as a portion of rehabilitation and getting people on their feet in these difficult times. I look forward for the opportunity to participate in this forum tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Candidate Leu, your opening statement. You're on mute, Candidate Leu. I'm sorry.
Thank you so much, Barb. Good evening, everyone. My name is Marylee Leu, and I'm running for County Board here in District 5 for the 4-year seat. Would like to thank the League of Women Voters, like the other 2 participants. Democracy only happens because of involvement and participation. So thank you for everyone being involved. A little bit about me. I am a District 204 parent. I'm a mom of 2. As Councilman Holzhauer mentioned, I am a former Navy veteran. I served as a paramedic. I'm currently elected to the DuPage County Regional Office of Education, and I earned that seat through my write-in campaign. My experience has taught me something simple and powerful. Democracy only works when people participate and when elected officials take responsibility seriously. I spent much of my career inside of government systems working for the state of Illinois, including the Department of Natural Resources, Child Support Services. And during that time, I've sat across from people who didn't need another policy or regulation explanation. They needed someone to care and help them navigate the system to make it feel like it was working for them. That's a perspective that I feel like I bring to the table, making decisions that affect real families in the county. As I served as a paramedic in the Navy, that training stays with you. I learned to stay calm under pressure, take responsibility and act appropriately and make strong decisions when the stakes are high. You don't defer hard decisions or pass problems along, you deal with them at the moment. I believe in democratic values that are inclusive to civil rights, fiscal responsibility, free and fair elections, and governments that work for everyone. As a parent, safety and trust are the most important to me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Here. Candidate Holzhauer, the first question will begin with you. What are the county's most significant challenges and how would you address them?
Thank you. I think and real quick, 2 minutes, 1 minute.
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Thank you. I think the county's most significant challenge is not one that's actually unique to DuPage. It is actually something that is a nationwide problem in all counties, which is the massive and I would say unconscionable cuts that have come from the federal government to state and local services, but especially county services around the country. And what's even more unconscionable about that is how heavily those cuts have been focused on social service programs, on mental health programs, on food insecurity programs, on housing programs. And these are already weak and vulnerable populations. So we're talking about people who are seeing their SNAP benefits cut at the same time that their Medicaid is being cut, and at the same time the county is seeing cuts to its resources to serve those same populations. I've dealt with similar issues in the Naperville City Council. We had a federal cut, an arbitrary, and I would argue illegal federal cut done for purely political purposes, which resulted in about a $1 million shortfall in our energy program. In addition to speaking the truth and calling out this federal misconduct, we need to be prepared to litigate, to protect our interests, and also we need to be really clear about our priorities. And what I would say to that is, if federal funding is down, or if there's external reasons why it's hard to fund our mental health programs or hard to help our more vulnerable populations, then that just means to me we're going to have to fight harder for those populations. I'm not going to give up on them just because it's a little bit harder. And yes, that may mean we have to dig a little deeper. Yes, that may mean we have to impose additional cost, but we cannot put that on the backs of our most vulnerable. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Leu, we'll have you unmute. And the same question, what are the county's most significant challenges and how would you address them?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. I would echo that right now families are under the constant strain of rising costs and affordability, along with real fears about safety that the county maybe can't pass legislation about, but they can enforce protections of safety on the campus or on the streets of not coordinating with federal level. On the fiscal side, the role of the board really is financial oversight and being accountable for the funding, whether it's ARPA dollars or just regular budget items. And in those, I would bring to the table implementing metrics to make sure that we're holding those programs accountable in that they're serving the families that need them the greatest and that those expectations are being met ahead of time, and not just rubber stamping going forward, so that when we do a program, it takes the concerns of safety and civil rights and the program services serve the most needed populations around us. Thank you.
Thank you. And Candidate Covert, what are the county's most significant challenges and how would you address them?
Thank you. Well, first off, I've served during the first Trump administration, a pandemic, and now the second Trump administration right now. So some of the challenges that we had, we talk about cuts to services. We did have that. We have a housing issue as well. But I want to go over first the cuts to the services, the federal funding cuts that we had to services. We're in a good spot right now. we have managed, despite the cuts, to still be in a surplus and to still fund our social service programs, and we're in great shape right now. And I'll tell you why. The first thing that I noticed when I got on county board, excuse me, when I got on county board, I understood that this was not a taxing body. We don't have any home rule, so we have to work with a $500 million budget, and we have to manage with that. So my whole goal throughout the 7 years was to think of ways on how to bring in more revenue to the county instead of just spending. But we also had to bring in more revenue to make it work. Our revenues are based on sales taxes. I had a initiative of cannabis recreational facilities in the county, unincorporated areas that I pushed, and that brought in millions of dollars in tax sales revenue. So that was one way to bring in revenue as a creative way. Another creative way was I passed diversity and inclusion imperative, which created opportunities and contracts for WBEs, MBEs, and veteran-owned businesses. So we tapped into a newer market to find economic growth and economic opportunity so both county and businesses could benefit. And I think that is the reason why we are in a surplus and we are doing well. And I continue to do that. So, and housing is the other thing. We're working a lot on housing. I support programs for seniors, assistance to first-time homebuyers, and we're also working with the state legislature to see how much more we could do. Right now, we're working on land banks with the state.
Thank you. Thank you. The next question will begin with candidate Leu. And the question is this: what, if any, concerns do you have about the administration of the 2026 elections in DuPage County?
It's a great question. I would say that the elections, as I mentioned in my introduction, need to remain fair, free and fair, and accessibility. The county has made great strides in the past years to ensure that voting is accessible to everyone, and protecting that is probably the most valuable thing needed, because if the general public doesn't trust our elections, then we are eroding our democracy. So some of the infighting that has occurred is probably not something that should be done in public. However, I think that being held accountable and responsible to all members to keep that trust is the most important foundation we have.
Thank you. Candidate Covert, the same question. What, if any, concerns do you have about the administration of the 2026 elections in DuPage County?
Thank you. I do not. The county board has fully funded and supported election equipment, and we have funded our voting equipment and all that. I don't have any concerns about our ballots or elections. They've been going very well for the last, I mean, how many years? We haven't had any issues. And I just want to point out, I'm not legally allowed to comment on the situation for the clerk's office. But what I will say is that issue is completely separate from full and fair and free elections. But I do have confidence in our elections, and I think that we have done everything we can to make sure that we have fully funded new voting equipment, and everything should be working right. So I do have confidence in it. Thank you.
Thank you. And candidate Holzhauer, what, if any, concerns do you have about the administration of the 2026 elections in DuPage County?
Sure. Well, I think I'm actually gonna differ here a little bit. I'll start out with saying, here's what's great. I think the process we have in DuPage County and what's been established over the years is amazing. You can track your ballot. We have an amazing system where it's super easy to request a mail ballot, to have many locations to drop it off. Here in Naperville, it's very easy to vote at the municipal center. This is a DuPage election, but in multiple county elections, we even take Will County ballots there. I mean, how amazing is that we have that kind of coordination between the counties? So in many ways, it's a model for the nation for how to run an election. Having said that, do I have concerns? Yeah, as an American, I have concerns that elections anywhere in America are going to be normal this year. I mean, there's serious talk at a federal level about quote unquote, federalizing elections, of requiring people to re-register with extremely cumbersome requirements. For example, people who have changed a last name, for example, due to a marriage, having to, have their voting rights stripped until they can prove otherwise. In my view, and this may sound dramatic, but I don't think you can have a democracy when close to half the country is constantly challenging the foundations of the democracy. So I'm not worried about the process we've established in DuPage. I'm very worried about the climate nationally. And I think it's incumbent upon us as elected officials, as local leaders, to do what we're doing tonight and have a civil discussion and be respectful with each other. And hopefully we can bring back a better future for our country. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Covert, how can DuPage County work more effectively with other governmental entities for the benefit of its constituents?
So right now, we have a legislative committee and we also have a mayors and managers conference. And I have served on the legislative committee as vice chair before in the past. And I currently sit on the mayors and managers conference, which are quarterly meetings. And then I also attend meetings at the district level with our mayor here in Naperville. So these are three separate meetings, local, state, and we have a federal lobbyist as well where we get updates. So we are actually in constant communication with our state legislators, with our mayors, and we're doing projects together that may overlap. And we have a wonderful relationship because when we're talking about, getting help working with a $500 million budget and not having home rule, we have to work with our state legislature to get state funds, for certain programs, or we need assistance from the city, and we just all work together and we work beautifully well. So that is how we do it here, and it's a wonderful thing.
Candidate Holzhauer, the same question to you.
Thank you. I'm going to agree with a lot of Member Covert's comments there. Uh, she made reference earlier to DuPage Mayors and Managers Conference. So that for my first 2 years on the Naperville City Council, I was the Naperville liaison to that group. And I thought great way to cross-pollinate with other governments, figure out what's going on around the county. There's a once-a-year trip that we make down to Springfield along with the IML, the Illinois Municipal League. And, just a lot of the best lessons I've learned in just kind of different ideas, different ways to do things in government, I think come from talking to other people. I actually want to comment, with regard to having a lobbyist, City of Naperville had a lobbyist downstate, but I think one of the things I was proudest of was not just that we communicated with that lobbyist, but that we actually set standards and held accountability. And so in one example, a couple of years ago, we actually ended the contract we had with our existing lobbyist. And I was actually proud to be the one that brought it up. The specific issue was when I went down to Springfield, the lobbyist admitted to me that he didn't know who our state reps were. And so I looked at that as an example of, I was really proud that I think going the extra step and really engaging and knowing who's a player and who's really doing the work helps. Speaking of intergovernmental cooperation, really proud if you've seen the handicap accessibility we've put on the Naperville Riverwalk or upcoming Riverwalk expansion. I'm a Riverwalk commissioner. I made personal phone calls to both Congressman Foster's office and Representative Yang Rohr, and we were able to get some state and federal funding to help out with those projects. So I definitely think we work best together when we're collaborative. We don't compete with other government entities. And I hope to be able to continue to do that in the county level.
Thank you. And Candidate Leu, the same question to you.
Thank you, Barb. So I would like to refer back to my time in the military. One of the things that you learn when you're in basic training and your schooling is to do everything the same. Now, when that comes into play is, for example, I served at the Naval Hospital Portsmouth, and after the bombing on the USS Cole in Yemen, there were teams that were put together of corpsmen and nurses and physicians. So one physician to two nurses to three corpsmen. And it didn't matter who was on your team because you all knew what you were doing and you were all working together. So it didn't matter what division you came from, you all had the same purpose and the same goal. And I look at that the same way within the county, that our state reps and our state senators and our congresspeople, that we're all working for the same goal. And so I do have a lot of ideas with my human resource background that I would love to bring forward if I had the opportunity to serve people, allowing us to increase work permits for seasonal workers, that would help provide some of the gaps that we have in the workforce, and being able to create an extra revenue body from the county from securing those types of taxes.
Thank you. Candidate Holzhauer, this question will begin with you. What changes would you make to help the people experiencing rising rents, housing insecurity, and those in danger of becoming unhoused?
Sure. I think this is one of the greatest challenges in the country right now. And I'm a big fan of the Ezra Klein podcast. Not sure if there are many listeners here in the audience, but you may know that he recently co-wrote a book called Abundance, right? And one of the things they really examine in this book is how is it that a lot of the blue states with, really progressive housing policies and a real strong desire amongst policymakers like us to work on the affordable housing problem. How is it some of us have struggled the most actually to create affordable housing in our community? From 5 years in local government, I tend to agree with his conclusion, which is that I think there is a real problem with red tape in getting an affordable housing project through, right? In some cases, it's actually harder and a more cumbersome, maybe even more expensive process to build housing that might be a little bit more attainable than to go with just kind of your standard suburban McMansion. So I can speak to my experience in our community. I am working right now. We are already have it with city staff a inclusionary zoning ordinance, which is something that you may be familiar with if you follow Washington State. We're basically, in order for a developer to build in our community, development of a certain size, they are required to set aside a certain amount of units to be affordable. I also was part of a compromise that was reached with the last council to provide incentives to developers who agree to employ creative solutions to create more attainable housing. For example, there was a former motel on Ogden Avenue, not a very nice place. It was converted to what are known as micro apartments. These are really small, like 300, 400, 500 square foot units, but they're amazing for recent college graduates or single seniors. And it's just thinking creatively about existing spaces is a great way to solve the problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Leu, what changes would you make to help the people experiencing rising rents, housing insecurity, and those in danger of becoming unhoused?
Thank you for that. I would like to say that affordable housing is probably the number one issue, like Councilman Holzhauer said, across the country. So my ideas to bring forth for the county are a little bit different. I think that the hotel he referred to is fantastic. Sometimes that does place a burden on the school districts around with an increased population of elementary or other children there that the schools have to absorb. So sometimes those aren't the most ideal. I do think that they work for a certain set of population. But my idea would be to implement some potential tiny housing options with shipping containers, utilizing our local colleges to partner with their architecture program to come up with new plans for layouts in bases of maybe unused land that could be properly utilized. I'm not sure that it'll work. However, they're ideas that I would like to explore for the county.
Thank you. And Candidate Covert, your thoughts on the subject?
Yes, I believe that housing is, I agree with my colleagues, housing is a huge issue, not only in the county, but across the state. And it has so many different layers and there are different issues connected to different levels of government that we have to work on. I actually wanted to talk to City Council member Ian Holzhauer about ADUs, possibly accessory dwelling units in our backyards in the city of Naperville. So I supported ADUs, accessible dwelling units in unincorporated areas to be rented out by non-family members. This could be for family, non-family, but it just kind of relieves a burden right off other properties. So supported that, and we're doing very well. So we put in the zoning and regulation for that. Right now we're working on land banks and trusts right now with the state legislature. I don't remember the House bill, but it did go to the state, and it allows the county board, again, because we don't have home rule, but it allows the county board to buy land so we can provide more affordable housing, and then we can build more. So I'm looking forward to that. We are in process of doing that. Also, I also supported assistance to first-time home buyers and property tax deferments for retired seniors for over the age of 62 for those who qualify. So that's another program that we have. And that's another category. And then one thing that I did mention on the county board was I brought up corporations significantly overbidding on homes, creating an artificial imbalance in the market. I would like to see some sort of cap on this, because there are regular home buyers, people that cannot compete with those corporations with those overbidding, and they can't afford a house anymore. So that's a different problem at a different level, but county can't do anything about that. State can, but this is where collaboration comes in and how we all work together. So thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Leu, the next question will begin with you. How can the board help ensure that county departments work together efficiently and effectively?
Absolutely. I would say the improved coordination between services probably comes to actually just going and setting up time to meet with them. And when I say that, it is much easier to get to know somebody and their challenges when you go to that department and you ask what their issues and what their ideas are for improving their job, because sometimes it's something simple that if you just haven't had that open dialogue to fix, uh, and it's something easy to do. So just making those first steps to talk to those other departments and that outreach.
Thank you. Candidate Covert?
Can you repeat the question, please?
How can the board help ensure that county departments work effectively and efficiently together?
Sure. I say really simple: communication. Communication is key, and meeting with these departments, listening to what they have to say, and on a regular basis, and keeping in touch. And that's what we used to do with strategic planning committee. That's what it was meant for. I don't serve on this strategic committee planning anymore, but that committee is supposed to bring all those departments together. And we are there to share ideas and what they need and what their needs are. And that's where we communicate. So, yes.
Thank you. And Candidate Holzhauer, the same question.
Thank you. Even taking a step back from the individual communications with any department head or subordinate unit, I think there's also a tone part of this, right? A tone of respect. I remember when I was very first running for city council, I met with the department heads of every single department in the city. And one of the things they consistently told me was when they see council members, board members, kind of disagreeing with each other, or not just disagreeing, but maybe being uncivil to each other, that it really, really impacts their morale. They really like us to make sure that, when we speak, we're being very clear. We can point out things that are wrong, but we can do it that in a certain way that's constructive and helps the mission. I would also say taking a step back from people who maybe don't work in government, right? Just that the average person who might go to the county building once or twice a year, maybe they have some business getting their deed recorded, or maybe they're going down to the street and to the courthouse. I think for us who kind of live in this government world, we view those as such distinct entities. But I think for most people, when they read about issues that are happening in the county, like the issues with, let's say, the clerk's office right now, I think they kind of lump it all together. And in some ways, I don't blame them. They see it all as government. So going back to that idea of tone and kind of just projecting maturity, I think that that goes a long way to building the public's confidence and also staff's confidence in the board as an effective governing institution.
Thank you. Candidate Covert, what factors will guide your decisions regarding the regulation or support of data centers in DuPage County?
That is a great question. So I did have this conversation with a colleague of mine. Well, first of all, we have development committee, so we would have to look at our zoning regulations and ordinance to see whether we even have room for data centers in unincorporated areas. We would take into consideration the people's, the constituents' opinions and meet with them. I would have to have the facts in front of me first and know everything that I need to know, all the facts in front of me, and talk to the constituents to see where we're at. So I can't answer yes or no, but these would be the guidelines of what we would look at, because these are really big issues. And I want to thank candidate Holzhauer on his work on this at City Council. Thank you. But there's a lot of layers to it, and we have to take it very seriously, and we have to consider all our constituents and look at the facts and zoning and regulation and see what the harms and the benefits, everything. We have to look at the whole picture before we decide. So that's what we would do. That's what I would do.
So, Candidate Holzhauer, what factors will guide your decisions regarding the regulation or support of data centers in DuPage County?
Thank you. So I think I would have a little bit of a different opinion on this. I actually think for the vast majority of my constituents, this is a very simple issue. Let's take the center that was issued in the most recent vote in Naperville, right? You had a center that was proposed within 800 feet of a residential neighborhood, near a sensory garden for children with autism, a center which would use as much power as tens of thousands of Naperville residents, have diesel generators, and just down the street in Aurora, you have multiple data centers, but one that's so loud that literally some people leave their homes and go to hotels as a result of that, while issues were being mitigated there. I heard from literally thousands of constituents in our community who felt like their leaders were letting them down, like they weren't getting straight answers, and like like they were losing faith in the process. I can promise you this: whether or not you vote for me, if I am serving you, you are my boss. I work for you, the constituents, and your interests are what come first. Thank you.
Thank you. And Candidate Leu, what factors will guide your decisions regarding the regulation or support of data centers in DuPage County?
Thank you. So this is a very hot button issue. And when I was knocking doors earlier this year, the several items that came up were not county related at the time. So I know that in the community and in my own personal household, my daughter would probably never speak to me again if I said yes to a data center. However, I understand that people are not going to give up their technology, and these data centers have to go someplace. So from an environmental standpoint, the first line would probably be a no. And if the board overall wanted to consider it as a revenue, because that's what I would imagine we would go forth with, is that real infrastructure would have to pay its full due for the environmental costs. So when it would be considered, that the environmental impact would need to be paid forward first, before going forward. But as I mentioned, I have two children, and my 21-year-old would hold me more accountable than anybody in the public. So that's one of the main reasons I want to move forward is to make sure that any decisions we make impact what their future is.
Thank you. Candidate Holzhauer, how do you balance the needs for services with the desire to keep taxes low?
I won't repeat all of Member Covert's comments on DuPage County's taxing authority not being a home rule entity. You know, I'm coming from a home rule entity, Naperville, so it is a little bit different. But I do want to kind of respectfully push back a little bit on the framing of the question. One thing I've found over the last 5 years in government is a lot of times there are reforms, there are new ideas, and things that in the short run, there is a cost associated with them. But in the long run, not only are the benefits to our community incredible, but the savings, the cost savings are real. So I'm going to give a really, concrete example of this. We, over very stiff opposition, conservative opposition, we passed the funding of a dedicated mental health unit in the Naperville Police Department, right? National leading type unit, 6 officers full-time, nothing but responding to those repeat callers, many of whom have dozens of calls to the same house. Now, yes, that costs $1 million a year, but guess what? Last year, the Naperville Police responded to 900 mental health calls. The average call is 2.5 hours of response time for a sergeant and a line officer. So does $1 million sound like it's a lot of money to being spent on a social service? Maybe, but also that is freeing up police officers to do their primary job and stop crime, and it eases the administrative burden on the department. And I will, I just don't believe that that is something that is not going to save us money in the long run. But more importantly, it's the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Leu, your thoughts?
I would say that these are questions that are hard decisions, and that's what is expected from leaders, is to show up and make those decisions. Leaders need to lead when faced with challenges that are gray. And in reference to the mental health building, it is a priority in the community. And so those are the efficiencies that I would like to bring forward in looking at of refining and improving. We live in a great county. Everybody who lives here wants to continue to live here. And to do so, we need to just improve it and make it more efficient along those ways. Sometimes that is hard decisions, and it's for the betterment. In those examples of maybe we, instead of buying more trucks, we pay better wages so that we have the people to actually use the equipment and the tools that we own. Thank you.
Thank you. And Candidate Covert.
Thank you. I'm just going to go back to our home rule. So we don't have home rule at the county, so we're not a taxing body. But I do want to go back to how we do create more revenue and funding, and we rely on a lot of our sales tax. Our property taxes is really a fraction, and they're levies. So we haven't increased that levy for years. So ever since I've been on the board, we have not increased that levy. We get a lot of state and federal grants. We rely on donations as well, private funding. state and federal grants. For example, the Crisis Recovery Center that we just built, we had a significant donation from an organization. We have buy-ins from our local partners and hospitals, and we're also looking at hospitals in our area, like our Elmhurst. I still call it Edwards Hospital in Naperville. I know it's Elmhurst Hospital now, and we are always looking for ways and how creative ways on how we could bring in more funding and more sales tax revenues. So, with not having home rule, I look at places like city council, and they have a lot more freedom to do that. And sometimes it feels like at the county you have one hand tied behind your back and you're trying to fund all these projects. But we've been doing a great job, and our county is a gold standard for a lot of in the state. We have one of the best social service programs. We have so many resources, and we've been managing that for such a long time. And I'm so proud that we all work very well together on the board in making this happen for our DuPage County residents.
Thank you. Candidate Leu, how would you address the needs of county residents experiencing food insecurity?
Thank you. So as far as food insecurity, I know that we have fantastic programs already for our nonprofits locally. I would want to extend some more potential, I don't want to say subsidies, but income eligible programs that would help that burden, and also make the process of getting access to those greater. I know that we have the resources, but sometimes people don't actually know how to find them. So increasing the outreach to that, and again, getting prepared for the grants to get those donors that do want to provide, having grant ready proposals. We're prepared to meet those.
Thank you. Candidate Covert?
Yes. So we had a member initiative program where each of the districts received a certain amount of money that we had, and we had discretion. Each individual county board member in those districts had the discretion of how to spend that money on which organizations we wanted to go with. So one of the organizations that I helped was Loaves and Fishes, along with places like Olive Garden, which grows fresh produce for the food pantries. I've always supported every food pantry in the entire county. I have never said no to that. Food insecurity will be a thing. I know that SNAP benefits were reinstated after they were cut, but I just don't have any faith that they will remain that way. I mean, food, it will be a thing. So what I'm looking at is more self-sustaining options for gardens, indoor and outdoor gardens that produce fresh produce all year round for our food pantries. So instead of relying on donations, why don't we make them, self-sustaining, and they could grow their own food? And that way we save a lot of money and we provide fresh, healthy food to our residents. So that's one of the projects that we're working on.
Thank you. Candidate Holzhauer?
Thank
Your
you.
thoughts?
Sure. I would start out by saying one of the things that I think I'm really proud of about our community is I think there's a pretty broad consensus in DuPage, in Lisle, in Naperville, in Aurora, that we prioritize food. I wish that were true on the federal level. It is not everyone's seeing it that way in the country right now. But I think everyone on the stage is probably in lockstep on that. One thing that I think is a really important piece of this that gets overlooked even by officials in government sometimes is it's more than just calories, it's more than just sustenance. Food security is a matter of dignity. And if you go and take the tour at Loaves and Fishes and you look at how much effort is put into making a space that is nice, that is inviting, that's clean, got healthful options for people, a child can go and it's not scary. I mentioned that I served as a defense counsel back in the days when I was in the Air Force. I had a lot of clients who 18, 19 years old, just a few years before they joined the military, they were themselves food insecure. And I heard the stories, right? There's people who maybe their only meal for the day would come from a school breakfast or a school lunch, or maybe there were sadder stories about some of the things people would have to do to obtain food. I think as elected officials, sometimes the dialogue we use really matters. You'll hear people in Naperville say, well, like, this is a wealthy community. And I always push back and say, well, it's not true for everyone. Even in Naperville, that is not true for everyone. There are people here who are food insecure and struggling. It's why I voted against a grocery tax in our community. And it's why this issue has always been top of mind for me. It is a matter of human dignity.
Thank you. Excuse me. Well, I'm afraid that was our last question. So what I'd like to do now is begin your closing statements. And you'll have 2 minutes to make a closing statement. And Candidate Covert, we'll begin with you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me at this league. I want to thank my colleagues right here, candidate Holzhauer, candidate Leu. Thank you for your service. Thank you for being here. Before the county board, I just want to say I'm an attorney. I'm a married mother of 3 children, and I'm also the co-author of the amendment to the hate crime law that passed in 2017. So my work started well before I got elected to county board. I work with domestic violence victims. I did a lot of diversity work in the process, and I'm the only candidate in this race that has been endorsed by many Democratic leaders in my region, and also Chairwoman Deb Conroy, my Democratic county board members, colleagues, township trustees, township officials, and I'm very honored by those endorsements and their trust in me to do the job. I've been getting a lot of work done on the county board for the last 7 years, and there's still a lot of work to be done. And this is why I'm running for my 3rd term, because we're in unprecedented times. I've been with the constituents during the first Trump administration, a pandemic, and now the second Trump administration. And there are a lot of changes. So it's really important to have qualified and experienced people on the board. And I believe that I am qualified and experienced for this position. And I would like to continue to serve. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Holzhauer, your 2-minute closing statement, please.
Thank you so much to the league. Thank you again to Member Covert. Thank you to President Leu, both for your service and for like a really thoughtful debate. I enjoyed being here. I actually have a photo back there of my 4 kids up on the refrigerator, and very proud of our roots in DuPage County. My oldest son, Jack, is about to graduate from Naperville Central, and he will be heading to College of DuPage in the fall. So I'm very heavily invested in this community. I'm invested in this country. I believe that we are going through a very rough time as a society. And if you've followed me in my journey on city council, one thing I have always prioritized is community engagement. Whatever is going on in city council, whether you agree with it, whether you don't, whether it looks pretty, whether it looks ugly, I try to write about it. I try to comment on it, and I try to get people engaged, because I think if people can recognize that government can actually be productive, can actually do things for them, that's our way out of this abyss that our country's been heading towards for the past, well, really longer than a year, but certainly in the past year. As a county board member, what I really look forward to is bringing that excitement of all the things the county does to voters, to kids in the community. I'm really proud as a council member. I think I've done probably 30 Cub Scout, Girl Scout tours by now. Just bringing that excitement, because it really is exciting, all the things that we do in local government. And it's been such an honor. It's been an honor and a privilege of a lifetime to serve this community. And I hope to have the opportunity to continue to serve in another capacity. And I just thank you so much to the League of Women Voters. You do amazing things for the country.
Thank you. And Candidate Leu, your 2-minute closing statement.
And again, thank you so much for hosting all of us and for the other candidates for participating. I just want to close of what my real motivation for putting my name in the hat in this particular race. And it really comes down to representation requiring participation. And for me personally, I feel like the residents of the county deserve somebody who shows up and who votes consistently. And currently, our district representative does not do that in our most recent presidential or municipal elections. They missed that basic civil responsibility, along with missing about 20% of the committee and board meetings from 2024 to 2025. So you need to show up for those county level votes. And since it's not happening, it's something I'm prepared to do. I'm capable, I'm competent, and I'm willing. And I would be honored to serve the county as I've served my family and my country in the past. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, on behalf of the community,
Barb, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I know.
Yeah, I think that was against
I'm,
the rules and false
I'm
statements.
going to address that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We do want to make sure that we hear every candidate's thoughts and policies without talking or directing comments about another candidate. So I'm going to move on, and we're going to thank you for everyone for being with you this evening. I hope that all of you will reach out to the candidates and talk with them and have further conversations, because our democracy thrives when all of us are engaged. Attending or watching a candidate forum is an excellent way to be empowered to join discussions and voice heard on election day. We hope that each and every one of you will vote and inspire your family and friends and neighbors to do the same. Early voting has begun at locations designated by your county election authority and will widen to additional permanent locations on March 2nd. To vote by mail, please request and return your ballot to your election authority in a timely manner so that your completed ballot must be postmarked no later than March 17th. We want you all to be aware that the United States Post Office has made changes to the postmarking process that could delay the date a postmark is affixed to your mail. For additional information on how and when to vote can be found at vote411.org and the Naperville League of Women Voters website and social media. Recording of this forum for Democratic candidates for DuPage County Board District 5 can be found on the Naperville League of Women Voters YouTube channel. Thank you all again to the candidates, and thank you to all of you for watching. And good night.